Good evening and welcome once again to our program Global Mind Theories that Shape Our World. Today we have four special guests, Alexa Aleman, an international relations theorist, Lucy Pescova, a global political analyst, Mariana Oliveros, the former diplomatic strategy consultant for the United States, and last but not least, Saraí Solis, a foreign affairs researcher. They will be discussing a specific case of cybersecurity threat that had affected global politics and how neoliberalism and constructivism can provide a broader explanation of the issue. Lastly, they will address how the developments speak back to each of these theories and highlight their limitations, and how the growth of cyberspace and associated technologies, opportunities, also risks and threats, tell us about IR theory and the conceptual thinking of the discipline. Tonight, we delve into a serious certain pertaining to cybersecurity, the impact of foreign interference, especially Russia's, on democratic processes, with a specific focus on the recent events in the United States elections. To kick things off a little bit, let's look back at the findings of the United States intelligence community in early 2018. So, Alexa, can you start us off?
Of course, thank you for having me here. In early 2018, the United States intelligence community concluded that the Russian government was continuing the interference it began during the 2016 elections. This time, they were attempting to influence the 2018 United States midterm elections by generating discord through social media.
Certainly, the primaries for the party candidates began in some states in March and continued through the September. Leaders of intelligence agencies noted that Russia was spreading disinformation through the fake social media accounts. Their goals was to divide American society and foster anti-American sentiment.
Thank you very much for those insights. Now we're gonna go to our other guest, Mariana. Could you please tell us about the key findings on 2022 regarding the financial contribution, please?
Of course, in 2022, it was reported that a Federal Electoral Commission investigation found that the American Ethane Company, which had received investments from Russian oligarchs, contributed Russian money to the US political candidates during the 2018 midterm elections, particularly in Louisiana. FEC commissioners also, specifically talking about Ellen Weintraub and Shanna Broussard, criticized especially the Republicans in the FEC for imposing only a slap on the wrist.
Absolutely. Russia's involvement in the 2016 US elections underscores several key points. First, the erosion of trust in democratic institutions, increased polarization, and public distrust. It also led to significant legal and political fallout, prompt cybersecurity and election security reforms, and resulted in sanctions targeting individuals, entities, and sectors of Russian economy. Additionally, it heightens diplomatic tensions.
Wow, thank you very much. Okay, so we will now discuss how neorealism and constructivism can provide a broader explanation of these issues and how the developments speak back to these theories. Highlight their limitations. That's gonna be interesting, stay tuned. Alright, so to get into the subject, I would like you, Alexa and Mariana, to provide us with a brief definition of neorealism and constructivism, as our audience might not be very familiarized with these concepts. Would you mind starting off with neorealism? Alexa, please?
Yeah, of course. So, neorealism is an international theory that addresses the anarchic structure of the international system, characterized by chaos and disorder, and asserts that power is a means to an end. Neorealism is divided into two branches, defensive realism and offensive realism. Defensive realism argues that it is unwise for states to maximize their share of global power, as the system will punish them for trying to gain too much power. Offensive realism, on the other hand, maintains that pursuing hegemony and accumulating as much power as possible is highly advantageous.
Well, thank you very much for that explanation. Now, Mariana, could you provide us with an overview of constructivism and explain how it contrasts with neorealism? I mean, it's important for our audience to understand the key difference between these two influential theories in international relations.
Certainly, as constructivists, it is important to mention that constructivism sees the world as a project under construction, where the society is responsible for the construction of knowledge and of the social reality. People use knowledge every day for the construction of social reality, as I already said, theories, concepts, symbols, meanings, and everything. We change the world according to the collective understanding of it. That's like the principal base of constructivism. And well, talking about the difference between these two, constructivism and neorealism offer contrasting perspectives of international relations. Constructivism sees the world as a project under construction, shaped by collective understanding, theory, symbols, everything like I said right now, emphasizing human agency and social interaction. Neorealism, on the other hand, focuses on the anarchic international system and power dynamics. It has two branches, like Alex already said. The defensive realism, which warns against excessive power accumulation, and offensive realism, which advocates for hegemony. Constructivism highlights social dynamics, while neorealism centers on the fixed, anarchic nature of international relations.
Of course. Thank you, thank you. Thank you for providing insight into the both theories. Now we're going to start the conversation, okay? Now, with this framework in mind, could you analyze the specific Russian case from the perspective of each theory? Let's switch the order this time and start with Mariana.
Of course, well, as we know, cyberspace has become a potential threat to national security, and this can also affect the identities and interests in a constructivist perspective of each nation. For example, as we know, the actual president is attempting to re-establish Russia as a global power and compete with the United States. And in order to achieve it, these kinds of operations in the United States do contribute to the overall strategy of advanced Soviet foreign policy interests, influence in the US government policies, and in general, discredit the US. It is a strategic balance of power competition with the United States. They employ a mix of technological, sophisticated, kind of offensive cyber capabilities, like covert action and information operations, in an attempt to expand its power and compete with the United States, like I mentioned before. I also think it is important to say that, for example, Russia, also in a constructive perspective, is shaping its interest by the disinformation and propaganda in the media. That is something fundamental. It's also a reflection of how it wants to be shaped as a global power above the United States. It's also reshaping the structures, the norms to the policy and the order of norms that will benefit them the most, and also weaken the United States at the end.
Yes, thank you for providing such insightful analysis. Now, let's delve into the neorealist perspective on the conflict relationship between Russia and the United States. So, Alexa, please.
So the case in question can be analyzed through this specific paradigm. Firstly, elections in the United States particularly are highly significant events, not only domestically but also globally. Elections determine the way the country's trajectory is going to be and also its foreign policy. The United States and Russia are superpowers, and according to neorealism, great powers are the main actors in world politics. Both possess offensive capabilities, military capabilities, and are revisionist states, meaning that they use the force in order to alter the balance of power. Their ultimate goal, we know, is survival, and they operate as rational actors. This is very important. To ensure their survival, they both must defend their interests. And given the fact that Russia and the United States do not have a close relationship due to political and economic differences, there is constant tension between these superpowers, along with a competition to be more powerful than the other.
Yeah.
So Russia's interference in US political elections via social media to influence them and consequently weaken the United States is a clear example that Russia is attempting to gain more power. Cyberspace nowadays has disrupted the connection between geographic location and the US government's ability to control online behavior that influences the voters.
That's really strong data. Okay, thank you very much for that information. I think it's highly important too that not only in the field of IR but in any other field to be able to analyze day-to-day events under the scope of a certain theory in order to have a broader understanding of events, right? Don't you think?
Yeah.
Yes. So now regarding the opportunities and threats that the actors involved in the case face, what can you tell us? Lucy and Sarah, Lucy?
Well, this case highlights significant opportunities, particularly for Russia, by destabilizing and weakening the United States through the cyberspace.
Yes.
Russia can significantly and potentially gain more power. Conversely, the United States faces risks and threats, particularly nation security issues.
Yeah.
Because in today's world, the use of force is not only means of gaining power and ensuring survival.
Yes, claro.
Yes, that's very interesting. But I'm gonna focus more on the part of the risk and threats. First, we can see a threat particularly in cybersecurity, democratic norms, and people's opinion. Why? Because the manipulation of information in social media itself can alter the perception of the population, leading to questioning the political system. And also because the fact that Russia could interfere and manipulate the people's opinion through social media can put the electoral and government institutions' legitimacy into doubt. That could lead to the next question. Isn't the United States supposed to be a state that prioritizes its security, especially in cyberspace? Well, on the other hand, for constructivists, the roles are crucial as there are always expectations from one state to another. And with this cyber attack, the US wouldn't know what's the next plan of action of Russia's, if there is another possible cyber attack. Also, it is important to remember that it's very difficult, if not impossible, that the government could put any restriction over the usage of social media.
Yes.
Anyone can use social media nowadays, which exposes a blurred space between the private and public sector. That's what I think this situation could put into risk.
Oh, absolutely. I think also it's very dangerous, the situation.
Yeah, very dangerous.
Okay, thank you for those insights. Okay, so yes, of course, I can see where you're coming from. Thank you. Lucy, would you give us a little more insight on the topic, please?
Sure, thank you. Neoliberalism and constructivism, despite their differences, can engage in productive dialogue. Here is how these two theories might speak to each other. Well, neoliberalism assumes that states are the main actor of the international relations, so it could miss other actors such as international organizations, non-governmental organizations, and individuals. Regarding cyberspace, this phenomenon could work both ways. On one hand, it significantly extends the number of actors. Literally, with the cyberspace, everyone who has access to the internet could become an actor. On the other hand, states which are perceived by the neoliberalism as the primary actors remain the dominant powers that have achieved significant success in cyberspace. In other words, so far, in present days, only states possess the necessary power to affect substantial changes in international relations through the cyberspace.
Yes.
That's not everything. Neoliberalism also argues, contrary to older version of realism, that states seek to maximize security rather than power. From the perspective of cyberspace security, this could be oversimplifying the whole situation. The assumption that states act rationally to maximize their security may overlook the complexities and irrationalities of decision-making process with states toward the cyberspace.
And I would like to say that of what you said right now about neorealism, that states are like the principal actors, in contrast with constructivism, we have that everyone is an actor. I also consider that something very important, and the other side that we're not like perceiving. Everyone has the power to plan those cyber attacks, to learn. Well, almost not everyone, but they have these opportunities, and the government sometimes, but they don't really have the power, to stop to see. Oh, okay, I'm going to know each and every person that is trying to do a cyber attack. They don't know that because that will also violate the privacy of the people.
Yeah.
That will also put them in a very controversy posture, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, apart from this case that we are discussing right now, there are other cases. Like, for example, there have been recent cases of hackers that have access to information, important information that puts at stake the state's national security, right? So this is another great problem, another recent great problem that we should address. And I think that by doing an analysis from under the scope of these different paradigms can help us to have a broader understanding of the problem that we have, that we all face, because it's not only states, but also
Involves everyone.
involves
Yes,
everyone,
exactly.
personal security as well.
Yeah, I think it is a very complex
problem because the states do not have like a certain they can't predict what is gonna happen, and all, especially in the cyberspace, it's very unknown territory, and we will see that this territory will become like an arena in the international system.
Of course. We'll be back. We're back. Thank you very much for those insights of the conversation. Let's analyze more into the subject, all right? So, cyberspace blurs the boundaries between domestic and international security, don't you think? A cyber attack originating from one country can target entities in multiple countries simultaneously, you know? This challenges traditional notions of territory and sovereignty, forcing IR scholars like us to rethink concepts like deterrence and defense from cyber attacks, which are very, delicate, on critical infrastructure, information theft, and of course, disinformation campaigns. The interconnected nature of cyberspace highlights the interdependence of states and the vulnerabilities that come with it. For example, the proliferation of cyber threats has led to efforts to establish norms and regimes governing behavior in cyberspace, like, for example, data protection, very important, online commerce, of course. On the other hand, this interconnectedness offers opportunities for collaboration, communication, and economic growth. In addition to that, we can think that the dynamic nature of cyberspace encourages innovation, right? And adaptation in security strategies as well as new technologies, right?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, like for example, what I said right now, the Russians,
Yes.
the Russians new technologies, sophisticated, and all those new developments that they're using, like to get into the Americans. That would be a clear example of what you were saying, and the
Yes.
new arena of the cyberspace.
And I think that comes back not only to security, but to power. How is the power
Absolutely.
distributed among the actors?
Absolutely. Power is a very complex concept to like to talk
Analyze.
about.
Yes.
Analyze.
Yeah.
I think nowadays and with cyberspace,
It provides a platform, right,
Yeah, of
for
course.
countries to engage like information warfare or maybe influencing global perceptions. Yeah, shaping narratives. Like as we've seen before,
Yeah.
different problems among Palestinians and Israelis.
Yeah.
That's like projecting soft power, I think. And also the digital economy, well, I don't know what you think about this, but presents opportunities for countries to enhance their economic power, among each other.
Of course.
Yes, the competitiveness, which can strengthen a country's position in the global economic power, And when it comes to getting ahead, cyberspace, it can be a really good tool, It provides espionage capabilities and also valuable insights, into adversaries, activities, intentions, and vulnerabilities, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we can agree that enhancing a country's strategic advantage involves the power distribution among the cyber attacks, among the digital phenomenon that has empowered the non-state actors. We have to recognize another power within it, like activists, as you mentioned, groups of terrorist organizations that have these like cyberspace tools. Yes.
Hackers.
Hackers, of course, transnational criminal networks.
Yeah.
So to wield significant influence in global affairs, which can change the narrative, I think that's very, very dangerous in some ways. It can shape the public opinion.
Yeah, exactly. And well, to finish off, I think that it is very important, it is highly important to talk about cyberspace, and also like my colleague was mentioning, to impose regulations in order to have like a greater control, because nowadays we don't have any.
Yes.
So I think it is very important, but it is as well a challenge, right?
Of course.
Because we also have like artificial intelligence right now,
that too,
and that is also like a major threat.
And also the globalization can make more complex all of these problems, and it will be more complex for the government for make like decision making in policy. So it is important for to look in different perspectives to solve these kind of problems.
Yeah, and it's like what you were saying, just also to finish, like I also mentioned before, like all those limitations, restrictions, they also leave us in a very difficult like arena because there's like the censor and what the government is permitting others to see or what not. That also like creates a controversy position regarding the human rights. For example,
Yeah.
human rights to access to information, to the truth.
Yes, so we all can agree that digital influences operations conducted by, I don't know, foreign enemies can disrupt, domestic politics, can disrupt or weaken social interactions and erodes a country's power and stability. Okay, thank you very much for watching. We will keep you updated about more cyberspace involvement on the international politics. Thank you. Hasta luego.
Bye.